Donald Trump's approval ratings just went from bad to worse. Why? Well, maybe it's because Thomas Massie just forced a vote on the Epstein investigation being released. Maybe it's because we're seeing more and more both poor Americans, middle-class Americans, and wealthy Americans shopping at big box retailers that are more budget-friendly. Or maybe it's because we just found out that the Border Patrol is going out of their way to actually go ahead and track people's license plates who are considered suspicious. Yeah, there's a lot we have to talk about, so let's talk about that.
Instead of focusing on winning arguments, we're teaching the basic fundamentals of sales and marketing and how we can use them to win in the world of politics, teaching you how to meet people where they're at on the issues they care about. Welcome to The Brian Nichols Show.
Well, hey there, folks. Welcome to today's episode of The Brian Nichols Show. Happy Thursday. I am your humble host, Brian Nichols, joining you from our lovely Cardio Miracle Studios here in sunny, well, it's not really sunny, Eastern Indiana. By the way, The Brian Nichols Show is brought to you by the best heart health supplement in the world, Cardio Miracle. So if you want to learn more about Cardio Miracle, scan that little QR code over my shoulder or simply head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. You'll know you're in the right spot when you see you're shopping with Brian Nichols. And I kind of fumbled through my intro there at the beginning because we have a lot to talk about. There's 4 main articles we're going to dig into today, and joining me to discuss all that and more is returning to the Brian Nichols Show, Connor Vasile. Connor, welcome back to the Brian Nichols Show. How you been, buddy?
Hey, Brian, I've been doing great. How you been doing?
I've been busy, man. I've been on the road. It feels like every single week for the past few months. I was out in Utah, in Phoenix, and Grand Rapids, going to be up in New York. I'm just going to be everywhere, man. So other than that, doing pretty good. But yeah, lots going on in the world, Connor. Lots and lots is going on in the world. And to start out, we're going to talk first about what's happening with Donald Trump. So apparently, Donald Trump's approval ratings they just dropped in a new poll. According to the new poll, 76% of voters disapprove of the economy. It's a 9-point drop from where it had been previously. Overall, Democratic Party has still record low approval rating, currently at 39%. But in terms of Donald Trump's overall support, it's not looking too hot, and it looks like a main reason is due to the cost of living. Compared to a year ago, voters say costs have risen for utilities 78%, housing 66%, healthcare 67%, and gasoline 54%. The majority of Republicans align with Democrats and independents in believing costs have increased, except when it comes to gasoline. So all that being taken into consideration, right now around 41% support Trump's overall job performance, while 58% disapprove, his second lowest rating since October 2017. Connor, doesn't sound too hot for number 47. What say you?
Definitely. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough time for everyone involved, especially the American citizens. This reminds me of a quote, actually. This is by an individual named Stafford Beer. He said, "The purpose of a system is what it does," right? So you have all these politicians, you have government saying, oh, we're going to lower costs for you, we're going to increase the quality of life. And they keep making excuses. Whether those are founded or unfounded, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the American people, us, we're still going to get the short end of the stick. So depending on whatever they say or whatever they claim, unfortunately, whatever policies are creating these unfortunate price hikes, they're going to stay unless something really changes, and it changes soon. But I'm not sure we're going to see that, especially in the beginning part of next year.
Yeah, I kind of look at this, and I mean, to paraphrase, maybe outright quote James Carville, it's the economy, stupid. And this is partly why Trump won. I say partly, I would say in large part, it's why Trump won. Yes, the culture issues were impacting a lot of folks. I'd say a lot of normal folks kind of opening their eyes saying, I can't vote for the left. That's a part of it. But the other part of it was saying, who's going to make my life financially better? And there was a very large schism between what the left was offering and what the right was offering. And the result was seen in the electoral outcomes. I think, though, that the Trump administration has kind of forgotten some of the reasons why they had such success and why they were able to win over not just the Republican voters, but it was a coalition of voters that were very non-traditional in their makeup, right? It was a lot of centrists and independents and moderates. It was a lot of libertarians, yours truly included. And I'm not shy to admit I supported Trump, and I would still support Trump today, despite all the that has happened. And we're going to talk about one of the leading libertarian voices in Congress, who I think, I very much am walking in the same footsteps as him. And by the way, it's Thomas Massie, right? He voted for Trump. He endorsed Trump. But he's still holding Trump's feet to the fire. And that's what I think we have to do. We have to be objective, and being objective, looking at why I think so many people are disheartened as to what they're seeing with the results of the Trump administration. It's a lot of bluster. It's very little in terms of tangible outcomes beyond just like pomp and circumstance type of stuff. Like the whole Jeffrey Epstein thing, and we're going to talk more about that next. Like that was originally a big spectacle where they had all the influencers. Remember, they came out of the White House with their binders. Part 1, Epstein file release. Connor, get excited, right? Only no, it wasn't, right? It was all being duped. And you have Pam Bondi off record saying they have thousands of hours of sexual exploitation and child rape, but it's so horrific, right, that's why they can't release it. To all of a sudden, oh nope, it's a hoax, it's a Democrat hoax, Connor. And God bless Thomas Massie. We'll skip right into this next conversation, right? I think this kind of speaks to where you have someone like a Thomas Massie, who this has been an issue. The Jeffrey Epstein question, did he kill himself, right? That has been the question that people have been asking for well over 5 years now. And it's something that, I mean, it's a thread into the overarching conversation around foreign influence on American foreign policy and, frankly, domestic policy. And if the conspiracy theories were to play out as true, right? And again, allegedly, Jeffrey Epstein was a Mossad asset from Israel, and he was more or less using his influence in America to create honeypot situations with very high worth noted individuals in both American public, but also in American politics. And then he would catch them doing nefarious things on film, reveal that they were underage people that they were caught with, right? And then use that as leverage to enact favorable policy towards Israel. This is the alleged conspiracy, right? So if all that were true, and you look at why Trump has been focusing so much of his political capital, and I don't understand this, Connor, and I would love to hear your thoughts. I don't understand why Trump has invested so much political capital into this, unless either A, he's tied up in it some way, or B, there are people that he is very close with or is familiar with or donated to his campaign or are movers and shakers in the world of business or politics or both or what have you, that were tied up into the Jeffrey Epstein, the files. So I guess my question to you is, why do you think Trump invested such political capital to just months later cave and end up saying, yes, go ahead, release it, I'll sign it, right? Which he did sign. So why the focus and the attempt to try and fight this so hard? And I say that with an asterisk. By the way, I don't think this is over yet. I think Pam Bondi's going to find reasons to, she's going to try to find ways to slow roll this or we're opening an investigation, therefore we can't release anything as part of an active investigation, stuff like that. I could see that happening. But anyways, Connor, I'll actually let you answer the question now. What say you? Why Trump invest such political capital? And I guess what do you think's happening there behind the scenes in Team Trump?
Well, first of all, I want to point out how frustrating it is, especially for the average viewer, seeing these progressions over time, right? First, they said, oh, everything is going to be exposed and we're going to let everything out in the air. Sunlight is the best disinfectant, to now saying it's a hoax, to then flipping once again saying, okay, we're only going to incrementally give it out in pieces because of this pending investigation. That being said, the lack of transparency with this administration is extremely frustrating, because you have this new administration, these Republicans gaining power again at the beginning of the year, saying we're going to be different. We're going to actually put the American people first, America first, right? But now apparently other interests, whether that's lobbying domestic or international or different intelligence groups from throughout the world, they have a hand in the pie, so to speak.
Yep.
And it was very frustrating. We just saw the other day, Representative Stacey Plaskett, she was almost censored for texting with Jeffrey Epstein during a congressional hearing, but they failed to censor her. And this Congress,
by the way, non-voting member of the U.S. Congress from the Virgin Islands, which I kind of forgot we had people like that in Congress who they're kind of there, right? They're the two old guys in the old Muppets. Hey, what are you doing over there? Like, they don't really have an influence. They just kind of sit there and yell at people, but I digress.
So when's the last time you really thought about your heart health? No, not after just a bad checkup or after seeing a loved one go through something scary, but really thought about it. And the reality is most people don't until it's too late. We chalk it up to fatigue, brain fog, or, just high blood pressure, or hey, maybe we're just getting older, or it's that dreaded stress. But the root cause might be something deeper. Your body's production of nitric oxide dropping off. That one molecule plays a critical role in keeping your arteries open, your blood pressure normal, and your cells oxygenated. And without enough of it, you're not performing at the best mentally or physically. And that's why I've been taking Cardio Miracle for 2 years now. It's a nitric oxide powerhouse packed with over 50 ingredients like organic beetroot, L-arginine, CoQ10, vitamin D3 that are all clinically proven to help support circulation, reduce inflammation, and supercharge your energy levels. It's not just heart support, it's whole body support. So if you're tired of feeling off, give your heart and your health the boost it needs. Just click the link in the show notes or scan that little QR code over my shoulder, or head to cardiomiracle.com/TBNS to start your journey today. Discount already applied. Just look for the note, "You're shopping with Brian Nichols" at checkout. One more time, that's cardiomiracle.com/TBNS. And now, let's get back to the show.
Definitely. I mean, it just shows the scope of how ineffective this government is, where they can't even censure a current member of Congress, one of their own, for acting in such an improper manner. So we can see how people are so frustrated with this. And then we take Trump as a factor as well. Now he says, okay, I'm going to sign to let it all out. But we all know that Attorney General Bondi and all of her teams are going to heavily redact those documents if they ever are going to release those. So it's just this game of cat and mouse. There's obviously some things in there that they do not want the American people to see. They were not prepared to see once they came in January. And now they have their foot in their mouth because they talked such a big game last year during the campaign. Oh, we're going to set things straight. We're going to be for the people. And all of a sudden, they can't do anything. Their hands are tied because they cannot fulfill their promises. And unfortunately, that's going to hurt them in the midterms and even in 2028.
They can't fulfill their promises, or they are knowingly not fulfilling their promises, Connor?
I think it's a mixture, right? They clearly won't. They refuse to, right? They have the power. They have the impetus to do so. But at the end of the day, there's so many different forces at play, including lobbyists, including these foreign interests, etc., that maybe they actually can't. I don't know if you saw, there was a video describing the different ways Congress members are able to get on committees and vote. And I remember former Representative Matt Gaetz was talking about how he has to go to these dinners, these donor dinners, and he had the little placard that you'd scan,
the QR code,
the QR code. You can actually directly donate to them like they were at a bidding war. It's ridiculous. It's degrading, but
I was looking. I just literally had 2 conferences back to back, and I have literally like those types of placards he's talking about with the QR code. You use it for lead tracking. Like there's an app you'd get when you go to the event, and the QR code, like you scan it and boop, there it is, and it scans, and you get all their information right there into your little lead sharing app. But yeah, like if you ever go to a trade show or an expo, right? Like you know exactly what these little name tags look like because you've probably worn them.
Exactly. And it unfortunately it shows that they're not really representing us, right? They're representing something greater, something that we can't really describe because everything's behind closed doors. And I think people are waking up to that, and that's not going to spell very good for their support in the upcoming elections.
No, well, and by the way, like just to kind of segue to the side, like who is they question, right? Which inevitably, like half the audience is like, say it, Brian, say it. Who is it? Who is they? Of course, everybody nefariously leads to it's the Jews. And I had this conversation with, oh goodness, her name escapes me. She was on my show like 2 weeks ago. We talked about why there are more and more Christians who have been like apprehensive towards like not so much Jews, but Israel as the country. And this goes back to this conversation. It's not anti-Semitism. It's not the Jews. It's a question around a government, in this case, the Israeli government doing nefarious things, right? That's the question is an actual government who we're talking about in this instance. It's not a group of people, right? And we're not targeting out one group of people. This just happens to be a government that is composed of a lot of those types of specific people. But even then, like I look at the country of Israel, right? And I'd say even just with Netanyahu as the face of the government, Connor, he's not that popular in his own country, right? Like he is kind of just holding on to the power right now because Israel's been at war. So, I mean, it's very tough to say like it's the Jews, right? When you're looking at a country where it's like not even the country that we're pointing at that is a predominant Jewish country. Like it's not the country. The country isn't even like the guy who's the face of this is doing the nefarious things, or the people in the government that are doing the nefarious things. Like they don't like it either. So yeah, I say all that. Kind of we'll put a pin here in the Epstein conversation, but that is partly again why I think Trump has lost such favor. Why so many folks are frustrated. It's because you can't go from having your administration staffed by folks like Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, who they were championing going after the Epstein files and making sure that they were released and exposing the folks who did wrong, to then like months later, their FBI director and assistant director, they're on camera being interviewed, and it looks like they both saw a ghost, right? Which in my head, I think it's when they show them the file, right? The file of JFK getting his brains blown out. And they're like, that could be you, right? That's what I think happens. So they keep it on the DL. I'm being a little conspiratorial. I don't know, Connor, but like that, you don't go from two guys who are leading voices about how they worked for government. They know how corrupt it is, how, there's nefarious people that are pulling the strings and stuff. And then to go in positions of power, all of a sudden just be like, nope, there's nothing here. Nope, don't talk about it. Like, what happened? Right. So like there is distrust. And again, it goes to why so many folks are frustrated because like you put them in office. I'm expecting results, folks. Oh, I'm not expecting it have to be Thomas Massey to spend months and months post government shutdown and all to actually get this to the floor to even get voted on. And it's bonkers because it just feels like, yeah, this is partly why folks are so pissed. And then you go into our next article here. So Walmart and TJ Maxx are saying that they're facing like some of their best optimism as organizations in years. And it speaks to a populace that is not looking too hot in terms of their economic outlooks. In a recent interview with CNBC, Walmart CFO John David Rainey said that the big box retailer Walmart had seen value-seeking and choiceful spending patterns by consumers for the past several quarters. And he said, quote, "It stands to reason if there's a little incremental strain on the consumer, they're only going to become more so. And they're going to look for more value. That is going to be the focus, right? Try to get more bang for your buck. Try to get more ROI, right? Try to cut some of those unnecessary costs. So where did a lot of those unnecessary costs start, Connor? Right? It starts at the fancy logo, right? The fancy retailer, it's going to Aldi versus going to the Whole Foods. It's going to Walmart versus going to Target. I mean, even Target's kind of gone, I'm not say downscale, but they're not what they used to be. Target used to be like fancy. It was a big thing when you go to Target versus a Walmart. But like this is, I think, going to be a natural progression of where things are going as, again, more promises are not being answered. You can say inflation slowed, but as we went through the data before, folks are seeing the numbers speak for themselves, and they're seeing it in their piggy banks, Connor.
You know what's funny about that? When you mentioned inflation slowing and the effects, right? How it increases or fluctuates depending on the quarter. It's curious how now you're not seeing a lot in legacy media or the talking heads talking about how, oh, this is actually a residual effect from the Biden administration. We're just still feeling the consequences of his actions. But no, now it's all of a sudden 100% Trump's fault, which, as we know, anyone taking a simple economics class, we see that there are fluctuations throughout the quarters and residual effects from previous administrations.
How much of that is true? But to be fair, going all the way back even to COVID, like this is where Thomas Massie first became the thorn in Trump's side, because you had the spending bill during the COVID pandemic that Trump was pushing because he wanted to have his name on the checks that went out. And Massie was one of those lone Republicans who was like, no, what are we doing here? This is insanity. It's going to lead to rampant inflation. And surprise, 2020, you see the spending just increase with that big stimulus package. And I mean, that was kind of like the first domino. And then to your point, Biden comes in to watch what I can do, right? Let's crank this up. And then Trump comes into office and you have the big, beautiful bill. And it's just, I mean, yes, they can say in one hand, they're trying to cut things here or move things around here to pay for this over here. But we all know once government starts to spend in terms of actually cutting the spending, not back to like old levels, but like actually like bring it back and reel it in. Government doesn't want to do that. What bureaucracy would want to, defeat itself? But sorry, didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought, but I just want to make sure we were fair that a lot of this spending, it really did. I mean, it did start with Trump pushing this back during COVID.
Definitely. It kind of speaks back, that old joke. Oh, Trump isn't a Republican. He's a 90s Democrat. And now I'm seeing, he really is.
Yes, he is.
I think part of it also, as we see most recently with the H-1B visa debate, I don't think he's actually, this is my theory, I don't think he's actually reading through or really getting knowledgeable on these topics. He just has his group of people who are selling it to him, and he's depending upon them for their explanations or their answers. That's why we're seeing such contention, especially on social media like X. People are really pushing back on this H-1B issue because Americans don't have jobs, or they cannot get jobs because they are playing second fiddle to other people because the companies can get cheap labor flown in. Then guess who trains them? The Americans that they're replacing.
It's like training on replacements.
I thought they were already trained. Why do they need to be trained? See, it's these inconsistencies that people are starting to really see how inefficient this government is. And that begs the question, if the government is so inefficient and really doesn't care about our needs as American citizens, why do people vote to make it even bigger?
Well, Connor, I think because we have gotten into such a tribal political environment where it's red team, blue team, and it is a battle for control of the largest monopoly on violence that this world has ever seen. Right? I think that's what it really comes down to. And that's not conspiratorial. That's not doom and gloom. Like, I think that's just the reality of where we are today. This is, and I'm not trying to pick on libertarians. I don't want them to just be catching a stray here, but like, this is why, again, partly why libertarians will never win a big election. Because there is such a like, we have to vote for one of these two candidates or the other team will win, and therefore the other team is a threat to my entire existence, right? That's the mentality that both sides have. And I voted for Trump more of, not because it's both sides, like one side's going to destroy us and the other side's not. It was more so I like the coalition he built. I was impressed. He's bringing in folks. He was bringing in folks like Vivek and RFK and Tulsi Gabbard and Nicole Shanahan and Elon, right? Like I was like, yeah, yes, okay, like I can work with this, right? And then to see just, man, like when I compared that to Kamala, it was such an easy decision to make. But even still, libertarians could run as the most principled, but it doesn't matter how great you are from a principle standpoint. And frankly, as much as libertarian from a messaging standpoint, they have room to grow, right? They have nowhere to go but up. I've been trying, Connor, since 2019. I've been trying. But like, yeah, well, yes, we've micro steps, but that's a different conversation for a different day. Like I look at libertarians, you're never going to get traction in this polar world where you have two different teams really that are battling. It's darn near impossible to get anywhere unless you're able to have, and this is something, going back to 2020, 2019, somewhere in there, Brad Palumbo was on the show. And Brad and I were talking about like, how could a third party like Libertarian Party become relevant? And I had floated the idea of like a celebrity being the face of the party. And the reason being is because think of what Trump was able to do in the GOP. He was a celebrity. like he came into the party, he took over. If you're able, like when Elon was mentioning starting a third party, I was like, dude, I got one for you. Like, come take it over. I saw it done. I've seen it done before. you can do it pretty quick, I bet. But like take over the party. Like have someone of notable name recognition and presence and popular appeal, right? Like let them be the face, the actual candidate. And it's not who's more libertarian conversation. That's not going to be the actual debate. It's going to be who can be the most effective communicator and reach the most people and solve the biggest gap that libertarians have, and that is name recognition, right? And marketing. Having that person with name recognition already in place is going to be huge. And if they have a marketing arm through that channel that they can leverage, by all means, like let's leverage it. Let's not try to get blood from a stone. It's not going to happen, libertarians, with our own efforts. And no, I'm not trying to crap on like Joe Jorgensen by any stretch, or Chase, though I could. And I want to, but I'm not going to. But like running as the libertarian grassroots candidate in a national election, not going to work. It's not going to work. The only reason Gary had success in 2016 was because he had name recognition from his past runs, but also being a former governor, right? Like that at least gives him some street cred to the tune of still sub 5%, but still, I mean, it was the highest libertarians have ever gotten. So yeah, I say all that, like when you're looking at where the country is right now, I think that speaks to why we don't get success, Connor, in bringing alternative options to the table, because they do end up viewing things through that dichotomy of it is red team, blue team. If my team doesn't win, then it could lead to the destruction of society as we know it. Right. And it's this constant volleyball back and forth over the net. That's what I think, at least.
Definitely. And it begs the question, is this really the best way to go about it, especially with the level of civic consciousness we're seeing in our society? It's not just, oh, I support my team, just as you mentioned. I mean, red team, blue team, they're two sides of the same coin. It's just big government. It's just more swamp. Just, would you want the super crazy fanatic side or the spineless side that can't do anything? Which one sounds more enticing, right? So if this keeps going the way it is, it's just going to get worse and worse, not to sound blackpilled. The only way to do it, even with Trump in power, as you said, all those wonderful people that he brought into the fold, right? And he brought in a lot of libertarian elements as well. That unfortunately doesn't do much if you don't have Congress. And yeah, sure, you have a majority a slim majority in the House and the Senate, right? But the issue with that is that's old guard Republicans. That's old guard so-called conservatives. They don't actually count for change. So if we need that, we need to start incrementally from the bottom up, unfortunately. But that takes time. Do we have that time? I don't know.
Yeah, it's tough. And by the way, this is already happening on the left. Like we're seeing right now, Chuck Schumer, he's probably going to be retiring now because he doesn't want to face the reality he's going to get primaried by AOC and get his teeth kicked in New York State. And by the way, I'm from New York State, and I know how Chuck Schumer, like the reason he was able to be so successful in New York State, besides being a Democrat in New York State, was there was not a camera that Chuck Schumer did not like. And my dad was in elected local government for years, and like I remember there was one issue where there's a dam in one of our local villages, and it needed to have the retaining wall replaced because it was eating away at the underlying like rocks and such from a nearby business, and they had to like vacate the business. There's a whole thing. And Chuck Schumer like, oh my gosh, yeah, I have XYZ dollars to give, and let me go. Where are the cameras? Where are they at? Like that was the vibe. It was he couldn't give two flips about the retaining wall. He wanted to make sure that camera saw him in front of the area that he was able to direct funds towards. But that, again, Chuck Schumer, he's going to get his butt kicked if he were to face a primary right now with AOC. Hakeem Jeffries, he might be getting primaried by a lefty, right? That was the scuttlebutt. So like we're seeing this right down the left. And I think, on the right, we kind of saw this as well. This has been happening for a while on both sides of the aisle. I think really 2008 was kind of like the moment I would say polite politics really broke, because you had John McCain, Barack Obama, and I say polite politics. I know it's all been make believe and pretend. Don't get me wrong. I understand that. But I'm saying when you look at from the way that the partisan politics really they ramped up was the Tea Party reaction to Obama, the Affordable Health Care Act being passed. Then you have a resurgence of Republicans in Congress. Still, Obama wins the 2012 election, really focuses on the identity politics, right? Like trying to do coalition building of identity versus what Trump did, which is based on like policy or ideology. So you're really using like I'm this group of person, using that mentality to build up his voting base. 2016, again, swing back the other side, complete rejection and almost fulfillment of the Tea Party. But instead of being more politically based in policy, or rather, instead of being based in policy, it was more based in populism. And this is where Trump came to the table, right? Much more rejection of the influx of immigration. That was, Trump build the wall. 2016, fast forward to 2020, you have the revenge of woke, and you have the resurgence of DEI and affirmative action in the workplace and in education. You have the resurgence of and even towards the end of the 2010s, the Me Too movement. You have the rise of feminism in the workplace, the LGBTQ movement. Like that all kind of came to an ugly head there in the 2020s. And then COVID happens, right? Like COVID, here comes the authoritarian nanny state at its worst. Public health turned into like, let's use that as an excuse to lock down all of America if we can, right? Like people forget, nobody wanted to lock down America. They were going to force all businesses. I think it was over 1,000 employees. Maybe it was over 500 employees. If you had that many employees or above, you'd have to have them get vaccinated. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to go to work. And I know I had personal friends who are nurses who had to face this, firsthand. I told a story a few weeks ago about my friend named Shauna and the nonsense she's had to face and the discrimination that takes place in healthcare from other healthcare professionals because they know better, right? And they have resentment towards the folks who they didn't get their COVID jab. Like that exists in public health, and it exists again a lot on the left. And this took over in the 2020s, and then 2024 was a complete swing the other way, a rejection of wokeism, almost a resurgence of. There's been this weird resurgence of almost like Christian nationalism on the right in many areas, but again, this fervor towards populism. But at the same point in time, folks like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib and Alexandria Presley, like. They've all been in the Democratic Party. They've been taking over. You have Zohar Mamdani just became New York City mayor, and he is he's a commie without outright saying he's a commie. He's parroting Marx, and he's saying taxation's not theft, capitalism is. What? Okay, like that's where we're at, right? Like this is where we're at. We have to kind of acknowledge the elephant in the room that things are not the respectful politics of yesteryear. But I'll let you bring us home for that conversation topic there, Connor. Any final thoughts on that piece before we go to our last topic here for today?
Yeah, a little glimmer of hope, potentially. So you just mentioned you see
a glimmer of hope. You're giving us the white pill.
Maybe we'll see.
Okay, let's see what we got.
Don't hold your breath, but let's see. So you mentioned how you have literal communists coming to power. You have Mamdani in New York. You have the socialists, Ilhan Omar, etc. All those individuals who rose to the ranks of the Democrat Party, even though they're clearly not traditional Democrats. They're communists. They're socialists. They're wokies, right? So if we want to actually change and create a counterbalance on the other side, why don't more libertarian elements, why don't more Tea Party elements, which is the most robust movement that we've had in terms of a libertarian movement in arguably ever.
If you're a small business owner and your phone contract is coming up for renewal, ask your provider if you can just go month to month. Watch what happens. They'll stammer, they'll delay, or straight up dodge the question. Why? Because they don't want to earn your business. They want to lock it up. And that's why I'm such a fan of Level 365. They don't play the contract game. Everything's month to month. No tricks, no traps. If they're not delivering, you can walk. But here's the kicker. You won't want to. Phones that actually serve you, not hold you hostage. That's Level 365.
Why don't we have those elements over time gradually take over the conservative movement? Bring them into the fold. So, right. So not only seeing libertarians as like this, okay, this third party option, right? More so, let's make it more mainstream. Let's make it more accepted by bringing it into the fold, as opposed to, okay, who do you want to vote for? These unpopular Democrats and their socialist allies, begrudging allies, or GOPers who don't care about you and only want to save their bottom dollar? No,
and Connor,
bring
by the way,
libertarians in the fold.
This is, I mean, going back to our starting off conversation, right? I think this is where Thomas Massie really has an opportunity to appeal to a different type of voter as that exact type of candidate. Thomas Massie is a libertarian Republican. Yes, he is a more conservative human being in his own moral proclivities, but like he is libertarian in his ethos when it comes to public policy. There you go. Like
I'd vote for him for president.
Absolutely, in a heartbeat. If it was Thomas Massie and Rand Paul or some type of election where it was Massie and someone else, whether him as POTUS or as VP, like I would love to see that. I think he would absolutely crush it. I think Thomas Massie would be a phenomenal candidate, not just a phenomenal candidate, but he'd be a phenomenal commander in chief. He has the intellect. He has the understanding of how government works, and in many cases doesn't work, right? And that's, I think, the biggest thing is that we need someone who isn't going to go in and look at government and say, how can I make this big leviathan of yuck work better? It's going to be saying, how can I start to like wean this thing back and make it so it's at the very least manageable? Because there's only so much you can do in 4, if you're lucky, 8 years, right? So that's why it's so important to give someone like Thomas Massie a shot, I would say, because someone like a Thomas Massie, he would be calculated. I mean, imagine Thomas Massie and Elon Musk working together versus Thomas Massie and Donald Trump working together, right? Think of how much more would get accomplished than Trump and just bitching and moaning about whatever Elon did for the day, right? Like it wouldn't be a pissing contest. It would be like, let's do this. Here Elon Musk, bring your CEO, engineer, crazy SpaceX Tesla brain to the table, and here's Thomas Massie, MIT educated, like he's incredibly intelligent. Go watch Off the Grid, it's a documentary Thomas Massie did for his org there, Free the People. It's phenomenal. It's so good. But no, I think to put a pin in this conversation, I agree. I would love to see Thomas Massie run. Thomas Massie, if you're watching, please. You've been on the show, so I know you at least know of the show. You follow me on Twitter. I'm going to tag you in this today. Run for president, or if you don't, run for VP, or just run for U.S. Senate. Do something. Just please stay in our lives. With that being said, let's go to today's last topic of conversation. This one gave me the heebie-jeebies here. This is coming from the AP. Border Patrol is monitoring U.S. drivers and detaining those with suspicious travel patterns. So according to the AP, the U.S. Border Patrol is monitoring millions of American drivers nationwide in a secretive program to identify and detain people whose travel patterns it deems suspicious, Connor. The predictive intelligence program, this just feels like Palantir all over it, has resulted in people being stopped, searched, and some cases arrested. A network of camera scans and records, vehicle license plate information. That doesn't make sense. A network of camera scans and records, vehicle license plate information. AP, you gotta get somebody to fix your typos there. Came from where they were going and which route they took. Federal agents in turn may then flag local law enforcement. Connor, spooky. What are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I think it's spooky because it sounds like ChatGPT wrote that article or headline. So,
yeah, a network of camera scans and records, vehicle license plate information, and algorithm flags vehicles deemed suspicious. Like that just doesn't.
That's a grocery list. That's not an article.
Byron Tao and Garance, Garans or ANCE Burke, Garance. Get your crap together, or get your ChatGPT crap together, guys. Come on, do better, be better. Be the change.
Just do it.
Connor. Just do it.
There
Continue. Whatever model or like slogan I can do for whatever sports company. Be the change.
There you go.
Yeah. Continue. What do you got?
Yeah. So this is fun stuff, right? I mean, we're in the age of AI. We're in the age of the new surveillance state. We're already seeing this trend. Obviously, China made it popular, right? China, where they have 15-minute cities. You can't even go into the neighborhood next door to you without scanning your face or tapping your WeChat card. So we're seeing that expand, unfortunately, into Europe, particularly the UK, right? Did you know you need a license in the United Kingdom for a TV? They will arrest you if you do not have a TV license.
Wait, so to own a physical television in your home, I need to go to the TMV, the television, or no, the DTV, the Department of Television. Yeah.
Affairs.
You know what I'm saying?
TVA, yeah.
Yeah, TVA. Yeah. My brain. It's been a long day, Connor. We as we talked today. You if you were a meeting, you'd be meeting number 9 for the day. That's how impressive my day has been. But I digress. No. But like that is astonishing when you think about it. You need a license to have a TV.
It's either to operate a TV or to own it. I'm not sure of the specifics, but to need a license, period, that's ridiculous. But hey, it's the UK. What are you going to do? But, you see these tracking, right. But you see these monitoring systems in the United States. Right now, they're being used to monitor and track illegal migration. But let's say if the Democrats win in 2028 or in the future, God knows what they're going to use it for. I mean, let's go back to the Tea Party for a second. You saw Obama using his intelligence agencies to monitor Tea Party officials.
Sure did.
And his political opponents. So if they can do it then...
By the way, I was literally thinking of the parallels between this article and like what Snowden released back in 2012 with what the NSA was doing. Like this feels like same church, different pew.
And you know what's scary about that? I've seen interviews or talks with FBI officials or government officials in general when they talk about Snowden, and they have such an emotional reaction, such vitriol to what he did, saying, "Oh no, he's the number one traitor to America."
Yep.
But I'm like, then what was the NSA and all these agencies doing to us? Why don't you care about that? That was for national security,
Connor. That was for national security. Don't you care about America? Sorry. Don't you care?
I'm sorry. I feel sad now.
It's insane though, dude. Like, this is leveraging the border patrols there. So for folks who are not aware, the Border Patrol gets a boundary around the geographic parameters of the United States, where it's basically like a like free-for-all zone. They can do whatever they basically want. Now granted, right, they will have to at some point go towards constitutionality, but in terms of like a suspension of constitutional rights, they've done it, and I've seen it done. Like where I'm from in upstate New York, they get a lot more free reign because that's what their kind of like their powers and authority grant them. So to know that and to see that this is a part of the equation now, I was like, man, that's spooky. Because to your point, right? Like what is created and leveraged today absolutely will be leveraged and utilized tomorrow by other teams that aren't team red, right? And that's the part going full circle, man. This is why so many folks view it as a life and death. It's like, stop making the Death Star have a more powerful laser. Let's start deconstructing the Death Star, right? But like, well, no, we need to have it for national security. Like it's always an argument of national security. It's always an argument of whatever boogeyman exists. If it's not the USSR, it's going to be terrorism. If it's not terrorism, it's going to be COVID. If it's not COVID, it's going to be climate change. Like, name your boogeyman. You're going to have some windmill to go and fight. Like, it's exhausting. Yeah, Connor, bring us home though. Final thoughts here on the Border Patrol, policing and creating lists and arresting people based on suspicious activities.
It's basically rolling out the red carpet for anyone in the future to utilize the same technology, unless this administration actually cares and puts a stop to it or limits it considerably. That being said, eat your vegetables, be a good person, live off the grid, and collect your own rainwater. But make sure you do it in a jurisdiction that doesn't require a permit, because some actually require a license for you to collect your own rainwater.
Man, sometimes I just imagine our founding fathers rolling in their graves, just saying like, what happened? What? No. This is not America. This is not the United States of America. First of all, we had 13 colonies. What'd y'all do? You almost went 5x. Second of all, like, what? What happened to the Constitution? What happened to the 10 Bill of Rights? What happened to the model that we set up? Like, and by the way, this is just Brian Rant. There is such an ignorance of American history and our civic history and how we got to where we are today. Things that we look at today, they are just, they are viewed as status quo, with no context as to how we got to where we are. And frankly, a lack of appreciation to how we got to where we are. And that's the part that's so gosh darn frustrating at times, Connor. Like, there are people who are so entitled, and people who, this is where the nationalism comes from, is like, there are people who are coming to this country that are foreigners, then come to my country and tell me my country isn't good. Who do you think you are? Go home. Go to your country. This is my country. Like, that's the mentality that creeps up. And frankly, who can blame them? Honestly, like, you have people who aren't American coming to America and then using the American system to lecture you, American citizen, about why your country is bad. Help it make it make sense.
Best example, Zohar Mamdani in New York. He's been here, 8-9 years, and now he's going to be the mayor of New York, and he's saying how horrible and racist his country is, but we need to redistribute the wealth, even though mommy and daddy gave him a blank check. That's America for you.
The left, like, listen, and this is not a threat. This is not doom and gloom. This is a reality. You're not going to like where this would go. Like, because this is just going to foster and really, like, breed this like, not just America only, like, it's going to be ethnic American only. Like, you're a foreigner and you're here. No, you're not, right? Like, it's gonna turn into that. And I just think the left needs to be very careful. And frankly, both sides need to be very careful, because like the temperatures have increased so much. It's exhausting. And people are just so tired of it. Like, I this is one of the worst parts about my job, is that I have to be plugged in all the time, right? I have to be aware of what's going on in the news. I would much rather, like, just go, my piano is sitting right there. I would much rather go and play piano for an hour than have to read the news for an hour to prep for a show and just be like, oh, I have to read about federal agents like using a network of traffic camera scanners to scan people's license plates to create a network of people they think could be suspicious. Like, I wish I didn't know that. I wish I didn't know that existed. I wish that I didn't know that was happening. And like, I don't need to pick on my wife. I'm going to pick on her for a second though. Like, she is so oblivious to a lot of what's happening in our world. And I get it. Like, I'm like, yeah, that would be nice. No wonder she doesn't want to pay attention to this stuff, because it is doom and gloom. It's exhausting. Like, to have to be aware of what's happening and like understand the consequences of where we're heading if things don't change. And then to see all these little, just again, another scoop on top, another scoop on top of the pile. And it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm like, man, it'd be nice to just not know that was there. It'd be nice to not even, just it doesn't exist. I don't have to pay attention to it. It's not real, right? I can go and I can live in my imaginary world and play video games and get stoned and watch Netflix and get lost on a YouTube, rabbit hole. Like, yeah, let's do that, right? Let's do that. And I get why there's such an appeal for that in young men in society nowadays. No wonder they want to go live in virtual reality versus our fun, exciting, uplifting reality. I am doom and gloom today, Connor. Oh, it must be the weather. Bring us up here as we bring things home today. Final thoughts. Leave the audience with some positivity if you could there, Connor. And of course, where can folks go ahead and reach out to you, continue the conversation if they so choose?
Great. So besides the doom and gloom, the hard answer to all these problems is, sure, we cannot affect direct change at the highest levels of our government or politics. But that doesn't mean that we cannot make people aware around us to actually form these communities in our own backyards. And that means that we actually have to discuss things with people. We need to work on things with people to actually come up with solutions. I mean, if you're complaining about the socialists coming to power, they had a huge grassroots movement. They knocked on doors. They sent out brochures. They actually informed people of what they wanted them to vote on. We have to do the same thing. You want change? Sure, you can't call the president on a speed dial, but you can go to your neighbors, you can go to your friends, you can go to your family and communicate with them why this needs to change. Not for them, not for you, but for all your children and their future. And that's what we're doing at the end of the day. That's what really matters. Once again, yeah.
No, go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, please go ahead.
I was gonna say it gets real when you have kids. Like just to drive that point home. Like when I had my daughter, it turned less about like, oh, this stuff is great to talk about and debate and like talk about in theory and really focus on principles and the ideal society and all that fun stuff, right? And it is fun. I get it. I love it. I went to school for political science, LOL. Dr. Twombly, you're amazing, like great political science professor, but the only way I use my degree is when we're talking about this stuff on a day-to-day basis. But like beyond that, it was a silly degree, right? But I love it. I love this stuff. But your average person doesn't, right? Your average person, they don't pay attention to it. And like at the end of the day, like I don't want to always talk about the doom and gloom, but this is the stuff people are paying attention to. And frankly, if they're not, they need to be. I don't want you to have to focus on the doom and gloom, but you got to be aware, right? You got to know what's actually happening. Connor, this has been a great chat. I've really had a lot of fun today, even though it didn't sound like I did. And it sounded like I was more scared of what's happening in our society. But you actually gave me some optimism. So I appreciate that. Final thoughts. Where can folks go ahead, follow you, bring us home?
Thanks. If you want to follow me, you can follow me at Connor_Vasile. That's on X, where you can see all my political commentary and also get a link to my books on Amazon. The State Knows Best. And I'm Joe Biden because, come on, man. That was 3-4 days ago. Not a joke. There you go. State Knows Best.
State Knows Best. That's right. All right, folks. I will include those links in the show notes. If you got some value from today's episode, go ahead and do me a favor. Go ahead and give it a share. When you do, tag yours truly at B Nichols Liberty. You can find me on X, on Facebook, and on Instagram. As for the Brian Nichols Show, you can find the Brian Nichols Show wherever it is you consume your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music. I like Podcast Addict, wherever that may be. Just hit that subscribe button. We have over 1,000 episodes here of the Brian Nichols Show, of which Connor's been a guest here a few times on the show. And I always love having you on the show, Connor. A lot of fun. Otherwise, YouTube, Rumble, X, Facebook, Spotify as well. You can go ahead and catch the video version of the show. Just go ahead, hit that subscribe button on your favorite video platform. And of course, head down below into the comments. Let us know your thoughts on today's topic of conversation. Are you in approval of what Trump has been doing? Let us know. Make your case down below. But as always, if you would be so kind, just keep it civil. I mean, just please. The world's too mean, right? The world's too mean. Connor's watching. That's right. Connor's watching. Other than that, folks, with that being said, please do me one last favor. And that is, if you get some value from the show, beyond sharing the show, you could always go ahead and support the show by either supporting us directly with a financial contribution over at BrianNicholsShow.com or by supporting the folks who support us, like our sponsors, Cardio Miracle. We have other phenomenal sponsors like Liquid Freedom Energy Tea, Blood of Tyrants Wine, Ebles, CBD, and more. All of them can be found at BrianNicholsShow.com/sponsors. With that being said, thank you, folks, for joining us today, and hopefully you got some value from today's conversation. Connor, any final words before we wrap things up?
Get a good night's sleep and hug your loved ones.
Good night's sleep, indeed. I could use a good night's sleep, Connor. You know what? Even though I do have a confession, I have another podcast I have to do tonight as well. I will make it a point to have a very good night's sleep. But with that being said, Brian Nichols signing off here on the Brian Nichols Show, or is it the Brian Nichols Show, or is this like, how to sleep well tonight? I don't know. Brian Nichols signing off for Connor Vasile. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening to the Brian Nichols Show. Find more episodes at BrianNicholsShow.com.